a ML Overdrive here, just doing a response to Queen Dopamine's video about an interaction we had on her stream yesterday that apparently stuck in her mind sufficiently to make a video about it this morning. Well, I'm quite flattered, of course. Little revisionist history on her part. Funny how we remember things different, especially when it was recorded. But hey, that's fine. So I'm just going to respond. I watched like 2 seconds of it, and I was like, "Oh, really? Is that how you remember it happening?" Oh, well, that's interesting, considering that it was recorded. But okay, so let's just get right into it.
I will.
By the way, Queen Dopamine, I don't know who she is. I have no connection to her. I hung out on her Discord briefly before discovering that her um, Discord moderator is pretty much your standard issue Discord moderator. I mean, do these people understand? Do they understand that there's a stereotype of them, and do they understand that they all seem to live that stereotype precisely? I don't know. But anyways, so it's fine. It was way too quiet of a Discord for me. My personality's much too large and abrasive. They're very timid people, and I'm very not, so it wasn't a good fit, so I just left. And anyways, I just happened upon her content totally. It just came up in YouTube recommended. No, nothing other than that. And I was like, oh, okay. Didn't even know that she was trans initially, although I kind of figured because, I mean, she's way too angular. It's like, no, okay, yeah, you're biologically male, but whatever. I don't give a shit. I've got so many trans friends. I live in a very liberal city, and I'm not a bigot. I don't care. I've got gay friends. I got black friends. I've grown up around every type of people imaginable, and in my experience, whether or not a person is an asshole has nothing to do with such things as whether or not they're trans. I've known trans people who are really nice, and I've known trans people who are huge jerks. So it does just like gay people, just like straight people. So it doesn't really have, as far as I can tell, it doesn't have anything to do with that. And the trans issue has like actually nothing to do with it. It'll come up though because she brings it up because obviously it's part of her life, and I guess because it's well, it'll be relevant to some of the things I talk about, like the fact that the most exciting part of her stream was when that transphobe came in and we all dogpiled him. That was by far the most excitement, and then her Discord popped off when I was in it, and yeah, that was by far the most excitement I had seen. But um, this is a person who ostensibly avoids excitement, although maybe we'll talk more about that because in my short time being around her, I noticed some pretty obvious contradictions in that she actually at one point admitted to. I mean, it's like you don't play PvP because you find it too intense and toxic and scary, and then you're playing a video game where the entire single player though it is, but the entire point of the video game is to create an environment that is intense and frightening and scary. So it's like, okay, well that seems like you might be a bit confused, but and I mean, okay, to her credit, when I pointed that out, she actually stopped playing the game. She's like, yeah, that's a good point. But anyways, I have no idea what she's gonna say here beyond
I
a
want
few
to tell you.
things.
I think you should not try to fit in.
Okay, so right away, I would say, as an absolute, that's terrible advice. If anyone's telling you to not try to fit in, just as like a blanket statement, um, that person's crazy. Don't, no, no. Anyone who tries to not fit in, or who doesn't try to fit in at least a little bit, like those people are complete social outcasts and they're miserable. Most of them have fractured family lives and don't have a lot of friends either. They just have to like find other losers like them online to form some weird community of people that have no actual social skills and can't manifest friendships in real life. I would highly advise against going that route. You should try and fit in a little bit. Trying to fit in is not a bad thing per se. We live in a very like the West is so individualistic, and so the fantasy of the one triumphing over the many is one of our favorite fantasies and really kind of built into the Western just ethos and the way of thinking about things. But we are a communal species. We're a social animal, and no man is an island. So, no woman neither. So right away, I would say you should try and fit in a little bit, or we'll put it this way: you should try and like it should be about the outcomes you want. What outcomes do you want for your life? If you actually sit down and start writing them out, chances are you will find that some of those outcomes that you desire for your life will require you to possess the necessary social skills and emotional intelligence and possibly networking, like to have others. You'll need the help of others. You can't be just this solitary creature your whole life just doing your own thing and patting yourself on the back for being unique and special. It's, I mean, for every one person who has a life like that, who gets away with it, that we all talk about, like, I don't know, like David Bowie or Cormac McCarthy or somebody, there's a million people who try that and fail and who are miserable and who, like, who off themselves or just waste their lives. So, don't be fooled by the exception to don't think that the exception to rules are the rules. Uh, uh, Jordan Peterson said it best. As a general rule, if everyone's doing something, you should do it too. Um, you know, if the ship is sinking and everyone's running to the lifeboats, probably not the best time to have a sudden surge of individualistic fervor and passion and to say, no, I'm not going with the herd. I'm not a sheep. Let those sheeple go to the lifeboats. I'm going to stay here with the band and help them play as the ship sinks. Like, no, they're so I just as a general as a general absolute as an absolute, this is terrible advice. Many of your goals will require you to fit in.
Why you should do what you want to do and not what you're supposed to do.
Doing what you want to do rather than what you're supposed to do is using different words to describe hedonism. Satisfying base and coarse desires is the lowest form of human existence. It's really, I mean, it's basically how animals live. They don't have like a higher stage of consciousness where they can think about things like what is best rather than what feels good. Animals simply react to stimuli, both internal and external. Internal stimuli, I'm hungry, I'll go eat. Internal stimuli, I'm bored, I'll go pleasure seeking. And I think a lot of human beings kind of get stuck in this sort of stimulus response life. We call them NPCs, where they're just, oh, I'm just going to do what I want. I'm not, I'm so free. I'm not like everyone else because I'm special. There's a real innate narcissism built into it, a real kind a lack of humility. This kind of like, well, everyone else is doing a thing, and all other human beings throughout human history have done that thing. Well, I'm not going to do that thing because I've figured it out. I'm smarter than all other humans. You want to be leery of attitudes like that.
A very small, short example is that a while ago I was bringing my Switch over to a friend for like an evening of playing Switch. And
Okay, I just want to pause it right there. So you're going over to a friend's. Oh wait, Switch is multiplayer. Okay, I was like, if you're seriously going over to a friend's house and playing video games by yourself together, that would be pathetic. But no, no, the Switch, right? You can play each other. I thought you don't play PvP. Maybe co-op. Maybe co-op. Hmm.
when we were playing, I was like rapidly cycling through games. I would play a game, get bored.
Okay, that actually doesn't sound like you're playing the same game as your friend then. So you went over to your friend's place to play. Oh, you're not neurotypical.
Bored very quickly, and get an idea to play like
Oh yeah,
immediately.
she has ADHD. She gets bored very quickly. That's why she can't become good at one video game, is because she gets bored. Now, I mean, I'm all for not becoming your condition. So you're on meds for that. Maybe you should try to limit your game shuffling behavior and try and actually focus on one. It might be good for your ADHD. I don't know.
Other game, and then uh, close the one we were playing, start a new one,
Oh, we
and
were
get
playing.
excited about it and have fun, and then very quickly get bored with it, close that again.
Oh. Oh, okay. So they okay, no, that makes more sense. I was like, that's too weird even for like Spectrum people to just go over to a friend's house and be playing video games together, but playing separate games. That'd be so weird. No, no, okay, but I can under. Oh man, her poor friend. Can you imagine? Okay, no, that's cool. Someone wants to come over to your house and you're gonna play video games together all day. No, that's cool. I'm a nerd. I like video games. I play video games all day. I ain't gonna judge. That's fine. That'd be wicked annoying if the person who came over frickin' couldn't stay focused on a video game for more than like 20 minutes before he had to change it and start playing another one. I'd never be able to get comfortable. Oh, that would be annoying.
Open the next.
She probably doesn't give a shit about how that would impact her friend. She's probably, I'm just going to guess here that she's never going to mention the fact that her friend was probably wicked annoyed by that, as any normal person would be. She's probably only going to talk about how her friend's reaction to that affected her. Let's see. Let's see if I'm wrong. If she mentions the fact that she understands that that annoyed her friend, then we know that she has some empathy. If she doesn't, it's not a good sign.
Next one. And for me, that was very fun. Um, I was happy doing that,
Right?
but
Because you were being selfish. You weren't you were doing what you wanted to do with no consideration for how it was impacting your friend.
I was noticing after a while that my friend was getting like visibly uncomfortable,
Okay, so we have some empathy here. You did notice that this was not to your friend's liking. Now,
like having some.
now did she care? Did she care? Now, what a friend would do is notice that and then amend your behavior or like change the plan somehow so that what you're doing is enjoyable for both of you. Like again, the fact that I have to articulate that, oh duh, that's how friendship works.
Kind of problem with the situation,
Duh.
and
And if you weren't so wrapped up in your own head, like you wouldn't even try such a move. Like it,
um, I asked them like what the problem was, and
what do you? Oh my god. Okay, so she has a little bit of empathy. She has enough empathy to notice that her friend was unhappy, but she didn't have the necessary empathy to understand why. Which I mean, that's it's not for lack of intelligence. She's obviously intelligent, so that's just lack of effort.
they were like kind of implying or like trying to tell me that
Yeah, so your friend is like you and is timid and is not comfortable with confrontation and directness, so they were trying to like passively, you know, communicate to you that they were unhappy and that they would like to change the situation. Yeah, that's what happens when you have a bunch of timid people hanging out with each other and nobody's confident or direct like me. You just get a bunch of like passive. Yeah, fuck's sake.
what I was doing was
This is why these are, I don't dislike, like I again, this is not like judgment or hatred. This is me knowing that this is why I don't belong with these people. We're not a good fit. My personality's too big. I'm too direct. I'm too confident slash arrogant. Um, Even though I'm fully willing to admit I'm wrong, I always present a really good case, and my language exaggerates my feelings and my thoughts, and um, they're too timid for me. Which is funny because I'm actually quite shy in a lot of situations, and quite vulnerable. Um, but it takes a lot to get me there, and it's only with a few people. It's just not. It's not like my default mode is not that.
weird in off-putting or something. So I felt shame.
So she felt shame. So another, you shouldn't have felt shame. You should have just felt, well, if you feel shame, it should be for being inconsiderate.
And then I tried to stop doing what I was doing, what I was having fun doing, what I
Okay, well, that's good. It's good that you did that because that's showing consideration to your friend. If you if you were resentful of your friend, that would be very bad. The fact that you amended your behavior and tried is really good. Kudos to you. That's a good sign for your soul, and that makes me happy because, like I said, I haven't watched this. So if you went the other way with that, it would be like, okay, well then you're not a good person, and like that's a huge red flag. But no, that's good. Okay, so
wanted
you
to
tried.
do
Yeah,
and do what I was supposed.
yeah, because friendship is, among other things, friendship is a constant negotiation. No two people are exactly alike. You can have lots in common, but there's still, each person is going to want to do slightly different things at any one point. There's always going to be a negotiation, and it should be friendly because you're friends.
Supposed to do instead, which is pick a game, play that one game, and
Presumably, play it for an hour or two. Get into it. Can't get into anything because you're ADHD and you're hopping around like a kangaroo. Yeah, that'd be really annoying. Imagine if you're somebody who's really into games and really likes to get into the depth of a game, like especially a game with like world building and stuff, and you're really passionate about learning the lore. You know, you're one of those people where you learn all the lore of the game. Maybe you read some of the like the extra documentation that comes with it, or you like Google the game wiki or whatever. You're one of those people, and you're like, yeah, we're into this. Oh, this is an amazing game, and you get like 10 minutes in, and then all of a sudden it's like next game. Like, what? What? I barely learned the character names yet. I'm just learning the background lore. That. What do you mean next game? We barely started. Like if you want to play video games that way, you would need to make sure that your friend is wired the same as you. You'd need another ADHD friend, basically, on a similar boredom timer so that you could like sync it. You're both like, oh, 5 seconds till boredom time. Get the next game ready. Then it could work. But otherwise, no, that's a terrible idea.
there is more and
That's
more.
and to be clear, it's a terrible idea. It doesn't make anybody involved terrible people. It's just the idea is terrible because it has an obvious flaw in that the two people in the plan, the idea, are incompatible in this context, in this for that mechanism, they're incompatible. One likes to play one game for hours, one likes to play one game for 10 minutes, and then hop. Yeah, they're not going to have a good time together. As soon as you say it, it seems pretty obvious.
And more examples of this in my life. The biggest one would probably be that I'm assigned male at birth.
Okay, so that's an example of you. Wait, okay, so you hopped. So
That I'm assigned and to do instead, which is pick a game, play that one game.
okay.
And there is
Oh, you didn't finish the story. So what happened then? Like, were you satisfied? I'm guessing what happened is that then you picked one game, played it for a while. Your friend was happy, but you weren't. That's what I would guess, just based on what you said before. Um, and again, that's nobody's fault. That just shows there's an incompatibility between these two people and how they play video games, and it's just not going to work together. Um, I wouldn't take that as shame. I would just take that as that is difference expressing itself. That's just difference. That's what it. What do you want? We can't all be the same because that would suck.
more and more and more examples of this in my life. The biggest one would probably be that I'm
So to you, that was an example of you trying to fit in. Okay. Right away, I would say that's a terrible example. That's not you trying to fit in. That was just you trying to amend an awkward social situation that in hindsight was perfectly predictable. I don't think that was you trying to fit in. That was just you and a friend are very different in how you play video games, and your friend tried to do it your way first, skipping from game to game to game to game, and after a while of doing that, your friend wasn't happy, but you were, but you noticed that because you have empathy and you're a good friend, and so you did what a good friend would do, which is to try and it's like, okay, well, we're gonna have basically there's like a subconscious negotiation that happens there, and then you, in my opinion, make the correct call and the moral call and the good friend call, and you're like, oh, okay, well, here, we've done it my way for a while now, let me try doing it your way so that you get to be happy. You didn't finish the story, but I'm guessing you did that for a while and then you weren't happy and then you were dissatisfied from the experience. And from that, you've drawn the conclusion that you shouldn't try to fit in. I wouldn't agree with that as an example of that, and I think that's the wrong conclusion to draw from the fact pattern you described of this interaction with your friend. I think that was simply a case of a bit of thoughtlessness on your part, just not thinking. I mean, like, that's what happened there is perfectly predictable. It's like not just with hindsight, but with foresight. As soon as you explain that you play video games this way and your friend plays video games the other way, then boom, we know that you two are not going to be able to play video games together unless you have some kind of plan that is consciously made to overcome that difference between you. But you didn't do that. You just sat down together and just hoped that the power of friendship would smooth things over, and it sounds like it didn't.
Assigned male at birth. So what I was supposed to do was be a straight male person. Uh,
Straight? Well, I don't know about the supposed. Again, so I think there's a conflation here. Um, Heterosexuality is the default sexual mode for human beings. It obviously has to be in order for the species to propagate and for evolutionary reasons. And it is the vast majority. Homosexual population is, depending on the polling, but realistically, you're talking like 1 to 2%. Trans population, what I consider true trans, not the social contagion stuff where you get like a group of teenagers that all decide that suddenly they're trans together. Like, no, 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 no. It's sorry. I've known actual trans people, and I have to say that that Queen Dopamine seems like one of the legitimate ones, not one who's just gotten some idea from Twitter, or been in the wrong been in the wrong Discord. No, no, it's like that's fine, but I mean, it's not that you're supposed to be hetero. It's that because 98% of human beings are hetero, our society is geared towards it. And of course it is. Why would you construct a society to cater to a 1% difference rather than to the 99% sameness? It makes no sense. Now, because of that assumption just based on the math and that catering, that comes off as pressure. And sure, I'll even say it is a kind of pressure. But in terms of like, I mean, Queen Dopamine, is she from Germany? She's in Europe. She's in Western Europe somewhere. Like, they're incredibly permissive. I mean, look at what she was able to undergo. She completely transformed herself. So, I mean, it's not that you're supposed to. It's just that you're likely to. It's just, and it's so overwhelmingly likely that, like, the odds of being trans are far less than the odds of being gay. So when they assign, like when they see you've got the baby's got a dick, assign it male. Yeah. Well, and by the way, you're biologically male. So the assigning, you're not assigned a sex at birth, to be clear. Sex is a process that starts like midway through gestation in the womb and continues through maturation into adulthood. Sex is a process. A it's not like a single position. It's a process over time. So this assigned sex at birth, that's not how it works. It like the thinking of sex in that way itself is not correct. That's not how biologists talk about sex.
Find a wife, have kids,
Sure.
right?
Again, because for most people, that is really satisfying and makes them happy. For the vast majority of people, doing that works and has worked throughout all human history. So why would we come along and just all of a sudden say, no, we know better?
Reproduce,
Sure.
be a good husband, be
Well,
a
as opposed to a bad one, yeah,
role model male person,
yes.
right? And
Those are
that's
all,
what some people
well, those are all very good things.
online or offline, like there's some of those people everywhere.
Well, that sound like a good real. What's wrong with a good male rule? That sounds good. Okay.
That's what some of those people are still trying
Why would it be bad to try and be good?
to pressure me into doing.
Pressure you into being, well, no, you mean pressure you into being male. Well, looking at you, I mean that anyone who's trying to pressure you into being male now is fooling themselves. You're clearly well past the point of no return, and you're also clearly happy with the changes you've made. So I don't know why anyone, it'd be like that transphobe. I don't know why anyone would try. I don't know why anyone would care. Quite frankly, I don't give a shit that you're trans. It, I didn't know you were trans until the transphobe came in and started talking, and then I looked at you again and I was like, "Oh, you are pretty angular." Ah, okay, I can kind of see it, but I so don't care.
And this pressure exists for this like trans cis stuff. This pressure
No, it's
exists
for everyone.
everywhere.
It's the pressure. It's the pressure of expectation. It's the pressure of being a part of a species that has a bimodal distribution of gender with a tiny fraction that falls into a third category that is a bit ambiguous, like yourself. So it just logically, the pardon me, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. The society is geared. I mean, to be clear, the society ain't geared towards me. I don't fit in. God, I don't fit in. I'm not sitting here like talking it up raw neurotypical. Like I'm not neurotypical. I don't fit in at all. So, just to be clear, like put my cards on the table. I'm not, you know, some cheerleader for normalcy.
In video games, just yesterday I was streaming Soma, this horror game, and it
Oh, it was so
starts
boring.
in just an apartment, and it has like a physics engine. So I was walking around this apartment, picking up stuff and just having some fun, like taking stuff out of the fridge in that apartment and putting it all over the apartment, stuff like that. And that
This
was
is
really
accurate.
fun. That was fun to me.
Now, again, if that doesn't sound fun to anyone else, it's like, yeah, it wasn't. It was boring. It was literally watching somebody in like an Unreal style physics engine walk up to a fridge, open the fridge, pick up a cup, drop it, look down at the cup, pick up the cup, stack it on something else, wonder if the cup will stay there allowed. Like, I don't want to tell you how to run your stream, but this is, and it's just me, right? Like I'm there to make things interesting. I'm not there to make friends. I'm just there to have some fun myself. In my own way, you could say I don't try and fit in either. When I hop into a stream, I'm not interested in sucking up to the streamer. Oh, my queen, like some of them do. Oh, my goodness. Oh, that makes me gag. Like, I'm quite the opposite. I'm like, show me what you got. Come on. Come on, you got some personality? Is there more to you than this? Is there more to you than playing with a physics engine, stacking cups, and making hypocritical statements about not liking intense video games while playing intense video games? Like, is there more? Come on. I bet there's more to you than that. You're smart.
And there was one person in chat who was like, "Oh, this is so boring. Volume stream. Get some."
I didn't say volume stream. I don't know. I don't know what that actually means, but I didn't say that.
action going and stuff
I
like
did say
that.
that. I said, don't you wish that? I said, don't you wish the transphobe was back in here? Because when that transphobe appeared out of nowhere in that other stream I was in on that other day, that was wild. Like that was so interesting that Queen Dopamine stopped playing the video game just to focus on what was going on in the chat because the chat was more interesting than what she was doing. I mean, so it's like we already have like we already have a good threshold for what excitement can look like. In your stream, that transphobe coming in, like we were just kind of cruising at a 4, just like making lame pun jokes and stuff. And all of a sudden, the transphobe came in. It was like, whoa, okay, now it's interesting. A bunch more people came into the stream. All of a sudden, she had like double digits and watching her on YouTube and shit. And it was, yeah, it was really exciting. And it was just because we were all just dogpiling him and making fun of him, and he was acting like a complete stereotypical bigot who's just like angry for no reason, and I don't know, his mom didn't hug him enough or whatever, and so he's come into the channel to make it our problem, and we just crushed him, and it was the most fun I'm pretty sure that anyone's ever had on that stream. So to go from that to then all of a sudden next stream it's like you're stacking a cup on top of a tin, and it's kind of blowing you away. I I don't belong here.
Pressuring you into doing what you're in the mind of them supposed to do in the video.
Okay, well, I mean to be clear, you're you're a streamer, and I think by any reasonable definition of what would be included in the job duties of a streamer, it would be to entertain your audience. So this is where I'm going to start to push back a bit, and I'm going to start to talk about the responsibility of an entertainer towards their audience. There's a tension between being yourself and, like, the audience is there to see you and they want to see you be yourself and be authentic because there's something about your authentic self that is presumably entertaining. But they do also want to be entertained. I mean, they're giving you their time and attention, right? Without them, you're nothing. Without them, you're not successful. Like, the only measure of success is how many of them you manage to hold their attention of. So, to be completely um, immune to their feedback, to not be at all thinking about whether or not what you're doing is exciting to the audience, is to once again place yourself in the position of being with your friend and not understanding why they are getting annoyed with you. And it's like, well, it's actually perfect. It's hindsight's not required. Again, perfectly predictable that if you're a streamer and an alleged entertainer and you start stacking cups in some lame physics engine, somebody in your stream might yell out, "Hey, let's get some action." And you know what? You want to be like an improv. You want to be like an improv comedian. You want to roll with it. The way you handle someone like me is you say yes and. You just go with it. It's like, oh, you could like throw sarcasm in my face and be like, oh, I'm sorry, hang on, we got to pause the whole stream because Overdrive is bored. Okay, Overdrive, what would you like me to do? I'm your monkey now. Like, there's so many ways you can throw it back in my face and make it really fun and make like I'm kind of setting myself up to be the bad guy. Like I do that a lot in streams. Is I'll set myself up as a villain just to make it more exciting, just to bring out the hero in the person who's streaming, because that's the job of the villain. The job of the villain is to set the table for the hero to manifest like their inner light and their inner strength and become a better version of themselves in order to defeat me. And it doesn't always work, and I'm not perfect.
I'm pretty sure if you ask the developers, they made that apartment full of objects and physics stuff for you to just have some fun in, right?
No, they made the apartment full of objects and physics stuff to create a sense, as close as they can, a sense of verisimilitude, which is a very fancy word that basically means authenticity or reality. The reason that the physics works so well like that is not so that some ADHD, neurotypical weirdo can just stack cups endlessly while pretending to entertain fans. No, it's to create a sense that you're in a real world. That's the point of the physics. It wasn't so that you can stack cups and giggle about it.
You're probably not supposed to rush through that apartment and ignore
I'm pretty sure you're supposed to do whatever you want. It's an open world game.
everything that the developers placed there for you to interact with. But
No, developers don't like everything in Deus Ex is pretty much movable or destructible. The developers didn't place every crate in Deus Ex thinking that somebody would move it.
if you ask people that are playing League of Legends what you're supposed to do when you play a round of League of Legends,
Win,
it's very, very, very specific things. And
win.
if you don't do those, they will try to pressure you into doing them.
Yeah, because there's roles in the game, and if you don't perform it's assumed that you're going to perform your role, and if you don't, you're going to hear about it. Kind of like being an entertainer or a streamer, it's presumed that you're going to be entertaining, and so if you're not, you're probably going to hear about it.
You can't get into a game of League of Legends, ranked or not, and just have fun. Just
That's again, wow. There's a bit of narcissism there. So you're speaking for yourself. For some people, getting into a very competitive, highly stressful situation is fun. It's not for you, but don't make the mistake, especially when you're not neurotypical, of generalizing from yourself to the rest of the world, which is what you just did.
just do what you want to do, right? If you don't go
No, see, that's again, you're speaking for yourself. When I played League of Legends, I was ranked platinum. And that's where it starts to get like serious. And that was in years 1 to 5. So that's where it starts to get serious enough. Like people are trying hard, et cetera, et cetera. And I loved that. I mean, and lots of people love that. And it might blow your mind, but situations and environments that you find personally stressful and unappealing, some other people enjoy. I know it's crazy, but there is difference in the world.
go to your lane and kill your minions, your team is going to lose.
Correct.
And people are going to be very, very angry at you,
Yeah.
without a doubt.
Because it's a team game, and in a team game, you don't want to let down your team. Again, it's like individualism versus communitarianism. Individualists have a really hard time sublimating themselves to a larger goal, to the goal of the team.
And I streamed a lot of Unreal Tournament these past weeks.
Thank God I
I
missed
wasn't
that.
playing the game shooting other people. I was loading into empty multiplayer maps and walking around those empty multiplayer maps.
Like, so boring. Oh, but again, that's fine. The stream isn't for me, right? That's why I don't watch your stream anymore. It's why I'm not in your Discord. I don't generalize from myself to the rest of the world. When I encounter a situation like that, I'll make fun of it, sure, because humor is amazing and we can all make fun of things, but there's no teeth behind it. It's not like I'm not actually taking the piss. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh wow, people are different, because to me that's describing sheer boredom. The last thing I would ever do is if I load Unreal Tournament, at the very least I'm playing against some bots and blowing them up. I'd prefer to play against people. The last thing I would do is walk around the levels, especially with those 1998 textures and graphics. Everything's so polygon and angular. Why? But that's fine. I don't have to understand it. It's not about me. It's a stream for people that are very different from me, clearly. Totally fine. But just like to not have the self-knowledge that is like that's a very niche audience you're going after, clearly. I mean, and it's not me. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with going after an audience that doesn't include me. I'm not the measure of all things.
there's a lot of people who see me do that and they're like, what's happening here? What are you
Yeah,
doing? What's the point of this?
yeah. Did you lose a bet? Like what?
Trying at least to understand why I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do.
It's not what you're supposed to do. It's what people. Okay, I get making this huge conflation between expectations and like when you say supposed to me that's a lot more than just the expectation of math. Like, well, we had a baby, what are the odds on it being heterosexual? Pretty damn high. But that doesn't mean you're supposed to be heterosexual. It's just a prediction based on the past. And it's just so we can organize society in a way. Like, what's the point in organizing our entire society towards a condition of human that less than 1% of the population has? Like, that just doesn't make any sense, right? It's the Spock thing, the goods of the many, right? I mean,
But still, they come from this mindset of, wait, this isn't what you're supposed to do. Why aren't you doing what you're supposed to do?
well, correct. What you're supposed to be doing is entertaining. Like, that's what a stream is. That's what these things are. Because put it this way, the whole like the audience is an integral part of this experience. And if it wasn't, you would just be talking to yourself alone. And there's nothing wrong with that. I do it a lot because I'm nuts. No, everyone. That's not fair. Everyone talks to themselves. I don't want to make people who talk to themselves feel crazy, but um, the audience is an integral part of this experience, and to not acknowledge their interests or to act as though their interests and their confusion is not legitimate, to not be sympathetic to that, I mean, it's I don't know, it's a little insufferable. Like
And the same,
it's not very nice. It's very selfish. Um, It's like if you just want to be yourself and do your own thing, then why are you even streaming? Why are you even sharing it with other people? If you're so resistant to the input and feedback of others and you find it so offensive, then why even bother doing this? I mean,
with being trans, where people asked me, one person asked me on stream at one point, why are you trans? Which basically means, why aren't you doing what you're supposed to be doing, right?
no, well, I mean, I guess you could frame it that way in order to fit your narrative, but I would treat the question like again, so there's oh man, there's trans people that are good advocates for their condition, and and then there are ones who are not. I've known both, and people trans people who are good advocates for their condition treat questions like that, why are you trans, as an opportunity, as an opportunity for gentle education, where like you don't want to lecture, but just but not even no, no, that's too much. Just it's an opportunity for sharing a story and for helping someone understand that you're not like a lot of transphobes, they watch Fox News, they or worse, and they get this idea in their head of what a trans person is, and then they encounter a real one, and and you're not like this imago in their head of this stereotypical trans person, and it kind of confuses them. And so like just asking questions is a really good sign. Asking questions is the first step to understanding and tolerance. Think of it that way. When someone asks you, why are you trans? That's an indication that there's some part of them that's not hating and judging. There's some part of them that's honestly curious. And that's the part that you want to engage, because that's on that level you can build a bridge of understanding, and you can help somebody who's maybe a bit transphobic or just ignorant of the realities of the condition become more knowledgeable. And you're not like that. That's just a good thing. That's good. That's really good for the person. It'll make you feel good because you've helped. You've also incidentally made your own condition a little more tolerable because you've removed a bigot from the world, right? Like it's
Right, assigned male at birth. And I just asked back, why aren't you trans?
And see, that's the unhelpful way. That's the It's funny that you would pick that method considering how passive and non-confrontational you allegedly are. But I keep finding, I think you're actually a little more confrontational than you think you are, because
Well,
that's very
because I don't think
direct.
doing what you're supposed to do is the correct thing to do.
Oh, that's such a terrible maxim. Like, you have to have more resolution than that. You have to add more to it than that. Like, if you have overwhelming pain in your body out of nowhere and it's not going away, you're supposed to go to the doctor. What, are you just not going to go to the doctor because that's what you're supposed to do? Oh, I just got hit by a car. I'm dying. I'd better call 911. No, wait, that's what I'm supposed to do. No, I'm just going to lay here and die. There has to be more to the rule than how you're phrasing it now, because how you're phrasing it now, it's pants on head stupid.
I
It
don't
just
think
doesn't work.
trying to fit in is a good thing.
These, you know, as I age, I become increasingly unwilling to dabble with absolutes. I really am and as I age, I'm increasingly distrustful of people who speak in careless absolutes.
Don't get me wrong, if you do fit in with any group of anything, that's fine. If you
That's all you want to do is fit in. That's the whole reason you're putting yourself out here as your authentic self, is because you're looking for like-minded people. You're looking for others that are either like you or who do like you, who tolerate you, who get along with you, that mesh with you. We're all looking to fit in. We're all looking for belonging. Why do you think I'm on the internet? Because we're a bunch of aneurotypical weirdos that are looking for our own place, where there's people that get us. Like, this idea that you're not looking to fit in is nonsense. Of course you are. You're just looking for the place that fits you. And you haven't and it's not neurotypical society. I get that. It's not for me either.
just fit in by default, sure, do that. Fit in. That probably gives you a lot of benefits in life.
Probably. Why if See, again, even there, like, it gives a lot of benefits in life. The fact that you would try and couch it in a caveat with probably, nice try. That it's efficacious. That it's of course it's effective.
But if you don't try to.
See, I'm not so much in the advice giving business as I am in the advice judging business. Um, I don't believe in, especially if you're a neurotypical, if you're not a neurotypical person, I don't know why you would think to generalize from your experience to advice that you're giving in a universal way. Um, I think that only the neurotypical have that freedom, and only when speaking amongst themselves. I I would urge anyone who's listening to this to avoid absolutes like this that are low resolution and that have obvious counterexamples that reduce them to just absurd statements. They need a lot more thought involved.
And I speak from experience because being trans,
Yeah, you speak from your own personal experience, from which is highly unusual and not the norm, and then you're generalizing that to all human beings. You shouldn't generalize your experience to anyone else other than yourself, really, when you're this unique, or at least
I
this unusual. A trans person is far less than 1% of the population.
already didn't fit in the whole gender thing, but in general, like I didn't fit in anywhere
Yeah.
ever.
So,
My mom has this very rigid mindset of what you're supposed to do in life, right? Get a good job, maybe in engineering or whatever, get a safe job, right? And
Yeah.
do all this safe stuff, get good grades in school and all this kind
Well, you know why? Because all of those things, accomplishing all of those things, it far more often than not leads to positive, happy, good outcomes for the people who do those things. And because your mother loves you, she wants those things for you.
of stuff. Um,
And she's not like can you at least acknowledge that's why she wants those things? It's because in her experience pursuing those things leads to happiness and fulfillment, and she wants you to be happy and fulfilled because she loves you.
Go to birthday parties and have fun at birthday parties,
Yes.
etc.
Yes, because she loves
None
you.
of that ever worked for me.
I know
I was brought
it didn't work for me either. Okay, here I'll tell you. Oh, here, hold
up
on.
by my mom. I grew up with the mindset that this is what you're supposed to do, right? She
Well, yeah. Okay, here, quick story time, personal story time. My own aid. I've never been diagnosed with anything. All I know is that every neurotypical person looks at me after knowing me for a while and says, "You're not normal." And all the aneurotypical spectrum people try to claim me as one of their own, and I get along with them way better than I do with neurotypical people. One of my earliest childhood memories is when I would have been about 6 years old, and my one of my friends who's passed on now, Rip Jordan. Um, I haven't thought about him for a while. He was it was his birthday, and I couldn't make it to his party. I think I was sick or something. So a few days later, I went over to his house just by myself with his. No, sorry, it was the opposite. It was my birthday, and he couldn't make it to my birthday party because he was sick. Right, right, right. It's so long. It's one of my earliest memories. And he, so I went over to his house once he was well, and just to play, and also to get, and he gave me my birthday gift. And so we were sitting at his kitchen table. Yeah, this is his parents. Like, we're just six. Um, and I'm unwrapping the present, and his mom, Elizabeth, who I still know, wonderful woman, wonderful people, uh, is is watching warmly, and I open the present, and it's a He-Man doll. They call them action figures, but in my mind, they were always dolls, and they were for girls. I don't know why. I've always just like it was nothing. My parents are so just like the last thing my mom would ever do is like drill any kind of um, like sexist stereotypes into her kids or anything like that. But for whatever reason, I never. I just like dolls are for girls, and I saw this He-Man action figure. I never liked action figures. I never liked any of that stuff. I liked books. I just read a lot, and it was the first time that I can ever remember being like conscious, awake. I so clearly remember internally looking at this thing and going, "Oh no," because I don't like it. But I knew, even at the ages, I knew because I so remember. I remember like I have to pretend to like this. And so I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." And I was like, "Oh, that's so cool," and manipulating the little arms, and they were really happy, and blah blah blah. And the rest of the visit went great. And then I went home. Um, and mom was like, "Oh, you got your birthday gift from Joe." And I was like, "Yeah." And I showed it to her. And mom, I love my mom. My mom knows me so well. And even back then, she just looked and she was like, "Oh, well, we can put that for the goodwill." And I was like, "Okay," because I was like, I didn't want it. I wasn't gonna play with it. I was no interest in it. Um, but that was a moment where if I hadn't fit in, if I hadn't lied, it was probably the first time I ever really lied as a conscious thing in order to fit in. If I hadn't lied and um, pretended to like it, it would have been an awful situation. I would have been like, oh, but I don't like dolls. And then, can you imagine, like, Elizabeth's going to be heartbroken. Jordan's going to be mad at me. Like, that could end a friendship. And it's not their fault. Like, 99% of little boys would have loved that little He-Man action figure. You just happen to get it for the one who didn't. But I didn't blame them for that, and I don't think you should either.
He was one of the people teaching me how life works. And it took a long time for me to figure out that this is not how life works for me because I tried to fit in. She
Sure.
made me go to like the Boy Scouts, um, and I hated that, but I had to be there for years just because I was supposed to, but it was awful for me.
Yeah, I didn't really like scouts that much either. I was in scouts for a long time. I liked the camping. I liked being out in the woods. I liked fucking around with knives and fire and all that. But I didn't like the other boys. There was a lot of bullying in scouts. There was a lot of meanness. Um, some of the leaders are real dicks. They always played favorites to their own kids. I don't have a lot of fond memories of scouts. I had to go to. My dad was a scout leader and blah blah. But yeah, I didn't actually like scouts that much. It, but I think it did a lot of good for me. I mean, it got me outdoors, and you know, it there's some tough love in raising a kid. You can't let your kid just do whatever your kid wants all the time. Because then he'll just play video games, eat candy, be fat, and never learn anything. Like as a parent, you do have to force your kids to do some things. Especially if they're super introverted. Like, you don't want them just sitting in their room all day reading, because that's all I would have done. I would have literally just sat. When I was 9, I had the chance to go to Disneyland for free with my uncle and cousins who I love and trust, and so it was never a problem of like, oh no, I can't like go with them. Like, no, they're great, but it was just I immediately turned it down. My mom immediately understood, and that was that. No other kid in history has ever turned down a free trip to Disneyland. Yeah, I did. I still don't regret it.
All of this stuff was awful for me. All this trying to fit in, trying to do the things that everybody else is doing.
It probably wasn't that
Was
bad.
not for me. I had to realize that I needed to stop trying to fit in and start doing what I wanted to do because
Yeah, you got to phrase that
if
better.
you
That just
do
sounds like
what you want to
hedonism.
do and the result of that is bad, then it kind of sucks, right? There's a bad result, but at least you did what you wanted to do. So while you did that, you probably had some amount of fun.
Well, if the result was bad, I don't know. And if the result was bad, then that probably means that the thing itself wasn't worth doing. The fact that it came about as a result of your own will and planning rather than that of someone else, well, who cares if the result is bad? And if the result is bad, you probably weren't having fun doing it.
Or some amount of feeling that this is what you should be doing for yourself, right? And if the result is good, that's awesome. That's the best possible thing that could happen. You do what you want to do and you get a good result from it. That's amazing. Now,
I'm
if you
pretty
do what you're
consequentialist. I
supposed to do
I just want the
and
result
the
to be
result
good.
is good, right? And you get something for it, that's cool, but you still spent your time doing something that you probably didn't enjoy doing.
Yeah, but there was a good result. So this kind of sounds like you don't understand what sacrifice is. So sacrificing for your future in the present is one of the hallmarks of, well, certainly maturity, adulthood, as well as like conscientiousness and discipline. Um, you know, like I'm going to do laundry today. I'm deeply depressed. I don't want to do laundry. It's been a week since I've done laundry, but I'm going to do laundry today. And the reason I'm going to do laundry is because I know that I'm going to like the feeling of my bed linen tonight when I get in and it's clean. And I know that it's good for me. While I'm doing the laundry, I'm going to be intensely unhappy. I really don't like doing laundry. I just don't like doing anything that I don't want to do. But I know that there are many things in this life that yield incredibly some of the most positive outcomes that you will ever experience in life will come after a concerted amount of effort and time spent by yourself during which you won't be having fun. What else is work? What else is work? That is literally work. And it's also sacrifice in the sense of like, you know, your parents put a lot of time and effort into you that they didn't want to. There were many times that your parents would have done something with you where they would have rather been doing something with themselves. But they're doing it with you because they know that it will do you good in your future. That's what it is to be a parent, a good one, anyways. They're sacrificing in their present for the benefit of your future. I think you might want to become more familiar with the conception of sacrifice, not in a religious way, although it actually fully it tracks along those lines with equal fidelity. I mean, it works there too.
It's like working a job that you hate. You still
Correct.
get your money at the end of the month, but
Correct.
you hate a lot of the time you spend being alive.
Um, yeah, if you hate your job, you do, but that's sacrifice. How many how many coal miners got black lung to put food on the table for their kids? Um, if you're in a situation where you're lucky enough that you don't have to do something that you don't like in order to, to get your money, that's great. And that's definitely something that's a good goal to aim for. But to act as though doing something that you don't really like for good outcomes is itself bad. No, no, it's really good. It's the reason that we're here. I don't understand people who think that life should exist without work. Life has never existed without work before, like, 10 minutes ago, like before a few years ago, every human being who has ever existed has had to work. And most of them worked far longer hours than we did, with no safety net, with no perks, no internet, no ability to instantaneously reach out to any human being across the globe, no medicine, no dentistry. We're so lucky.
That kind of sucks. And now, what if you do the things you're supposed to do and the result is bad? Which is what a lot of my life was until I realized.
Well, if you're doing the things that you're supposed to be doing and the outcome is bad, I would I would have some questions because like if you if you go to school, if you graduate, if you get a good job, you don't like the job, but the job pays good money and it's stable, well, that's going to allow you to presumably, save some money, buy a house. Probably not in this economy, but I mean, the the job might suck, but it gives you money, and money allows you to do good things. So, I mean,
Realized I should stop doing that. Because if you do what you're supposed to do and not what you want to do, and there's a bad result, then it's just all bad. You spend your time.
well, I think there's a way simpler heuristic that you can use there. If you're doing something and the outcome is bad, change what you're doing. I don't think it has anything to do with whether or not you're supposed to be doing it or whether or not society is telling you to do it. If you're doing something and the outcome isn't working for you, then change what you're doing. Like why would you complicate such a simple thing? And of course, as soon as you say it that way, it's so self-evident that it doesn't need to be said at all.
Time doing something you hated it, and the results sucked as well. That's awful. And now I
I just don't
going through all
understand
this
how you
this
would have like
streaming.
a good job and have a bad
Like I'm
outcome, but
streaming a bunch of games and stuff, right? And um, going full circle back to that Switch story where I cycled through games at rapid pace, I still have the stuff in the back of my head, right? It's stuck there from growing up. Um, I was streaming these Unreal Tournament maps, being kind of self-conscious in a way about it, right? Like whenever I
that's
spend too
good.
long looking at something, I kept feeling like, oh god, people are gonna be bored. This is weird. This
That's
is fun,
good.
even though I want
No,
to
no,
do
that's
it.
really good. It's really good that you have those. If you didn't have those thoughts, then you would just be some hopeless narcissist and eventually you would fail. But because you have those thoughts, there's a future for you. Cuz yeah, like you you should be thinking about your audience. How like what at least to some degree. You don't want to bend over backwards and kiss your audience's ass and just do whatever they want to do. Like I said, there's that tension because a lot of times the audience likes it when the entertainer doesn't give a fuck about them and doesn't give a fuck about, I'm just going to do my own thing and I don't care if you like it or not. That's that could be cool for a while. But I mean, the entertainment still needs to be there. So, I don't know. It kind of feels to me like you need to have a conversation with yourself about what is your purpose for streaming? Why are you streaming? What is a good outcome and what is a bad outcome for streaming for you? Define those things ahead of time and so that you can navigate accordingly.
To and I tried to always like subconsciously do things a little more like it would be normal and acceptable to do them.
If you want to be successful. So again, this is where it can be really scary. I speak from a lot of experience here. It can be really scary to define what you want sometimes, to define your goals, because there's like a commitment there. Once you've said it, once you've even just internally realized it for yourself, there's like a commitment. So if for example, if you, Queen Dopamine, were to say to yourself, well, what do I want to get out of streaming? Like, what is my purpose here? Why am I doing this? What does, like, obviously to be successful, duh, okay, but what does success look like? Like, let's stop hiding behind vague words and let's define it. What do I want out of my streaming? So, like, you could say simple, like, I want to hit 10,000 subscribers. Okay, well, if you want, like, the more people you want watching you, the more you're, I don't want to say you're going to have to cater to them, but you're going to have to produce a product that many people are going to enjoy watching of their own volition. So thinking in terms, like having those thoughts that you've had, like, oh, this might be a bit boring, those are good thoughts. Those are constructive thoughts. Because if you want, again, if you want to have like a lot of people watching you, if your goal is different, if your goal is, you know what, I just want to be myself online, if there's only a couple of people that I ever connect with and who are watching me and who get me, that's totally fine, that's success to me, then don't give a fuck, keep doing what you're doing. But your goals determine your actions. So um, I would say it feels to me right now like you don't have your goals clearly defined. It feels like you're trying to figure out, do you want to be successful or do you want to be authentic? because there's an obvious tension between those two things because you're not neurotypical. If you were neurotypical, then you could just be authentic and you know, as long as there was something interesting you about you and you know the other things were all in place, then that would be sufficient. But you're not neurotypical, you're aneurotypical. Welcome to the club. So it automatically puts it into more of a niche area. And then it just, but again, it really just comes down to like, what do you want? What do you want to get out of it? Do you just, like, for me, like, I'll say what mine is. I don't want to be famous. I don't accept subs. I don't accept anyone's money. Not because I'm rich, I'm actually quite poor, but I don't, it's because I've already thought about what is my goal when I stream and make media online. And it has nothing to do with reaching a larger audience or success in any of those standard like subs, you know, metrics, you know, anything like that. I'm not interested in that. It's much more personal. Um, and that is what allows me to, you know, put out content like this that like no one's going to watch. Because I've already accepted that I'm not going to be successful. And there's a kind of freedom to that because it's like, well, now I can really do whatever the hell I want. No one's going to watch it, but that's okay. Like, that's all part of the plan. You don't want to be, you don't want your, you don't want to be divided in yourself. You don't want to be taking actions that that put you on the path to a goal that you don't actually want. You want your goal and your actions to be aligned. But but you need to set the goal first. Anyways,
And that resulted in me streaming Soma yesterday for almost 4 hours. That's usually my runtime of the streams. And usually I switch games every like 1 to 1.5 hours. So I play like 2 to 3 games on each stream. And it's cool for me because I have ADHD, so I get bored with the stuff and I need to switch it up for my own sake. I didn't.
you don't need to. You want to. You're you're not your condition. We want to make sure that we never become our condition. Um, the ADHD makes you very much want to change games. But if someone had a gun to your head and said, if you change that game, I'm going to blow your brains out, you wouldn't change the game. It's a desire, but it's not an absolute. You can resist it.
Do that yesterday. So after about 1.5 hours when
There
I
you go.
finished
You
the
didn't do it
stream,
yesterday.
I got stuck in the game. And I think I got stuck because I was mentally disengaged because I didn't change the game when I should have. But I didn't want to because I thought it's weird.
You got
Like,
stuck? Oh, it's like a
streamers usually stream one video game for the
it's a
entire session.
puzzle game.
And I didn't want to, I had that Switch memory in my head of somebody.
Right. Well, because it sound okay. So I'm going to speculate here. I'm not a mind reader, um, so I don't know if any of this is true. You can tell me, but it sounds to me like you're unclear about what your goals for streaming are. It sounds to me like you do want to be successful, um, but it also sounds to me like there's some part of you that understands that in order to be successful, you're going to have to make concessions to the audience. Sometimes you're going to have to do what they want, not what you want, if you want to be successful. I think that's built in, and I think you're struggling with that. You're intelligent and you're self-aware, so you're thinking about thinking. You're doing the work, which is good. Um, my advice would be you need to write out your goals. You need to treat no, that's right. You need to yeah, you just need to think. You just need to ask yourself the question: what is the outcome that I want from this streaming project of mine? What would be the best outcome? Have the courage to allow yourself to define it. You know, just delineate the dream.
shaming me for switching games.
No one would shame. Okay, see, there like this shaming. Different expressing difference is not automatically shaming.
So I tried not to do that. And then I got stuck in the game. And it was such an awful feeling for me. I apologized for it later too. Got stuck for quite a while because my mind had disengaged with it and I couldn't focus. I couldn't do the most simple
Well, then why didn't you just take a break? You've probably been sitting in the chair for a while. Just put the duck in the chair, get up and
thing,
walk
which was
around.
just find a number to put into a computer and then we could progress. Um,
Oh, I hate puzzle games, by the way. Just fucking Google it.
and then the worst thing, I publish my streams after they're done as a video, and usually they get a bunch of watch time overnight by like sleeping people, I guess. And that's cool. That's just like an added bonus. Um, and if I stream the way that I want to, that's awesome. I do what I want and I get a good result. But yesterday, that stream got no like sleeping extra watch hours at all. So I felt really bad about it because I streamed in a way that I didn't enjoy by this like internalized pressure and shame, and then it resulted in a bad thing. So that was this all the way bad thing.
Mm. But remember, correlation does not imply causation. You're going to say that the reason the stream performed poorly is because you tried to fit in and you succumbed to this internal pressure to not switch games. But it also could just be a random variance in the watching population. It could be that just for whatever reason that that particular stream that night just wasn't interesting enough to to garner the attention that you're used to. I mean, again, I'm not throwing shade, but personally, I wasn't going to stick around for that one. That one, that one started bad, and I was not going to stay for the rest. I'm like, oh my god, she's literally stacking cups on top of tins in some physics engine. Oh dear. You know, okay, so here, as an example, um, I'm very tactile, and I could sit here and do this. I could sit here and play with my beard hair for hours. I'm not kidding. I just the tactility of this. It's a self stim. It's one of my strongest kind of autistic sort of behaviors. I don't think I am autistic, but I think I'm adjacent. You know what I mean? I could do this for hours. I'm not kidding. I have. And this would be doing exactly what I want. Now, if I was to put up a stream of me doing this, and then the next day the stream had did not garnish the or did not garner the response that I wanted, what should I blame? I'm pretty sure I should blame the content, not, anything else. It's doing what you want to do. It's not enough. That can't be the heuristic by which you live your life. Otherwise, you're just a base hedonist and nothing more than some rutting animal.
Thing. Not that I hated streaming
Like you have you have responsibilities to others, whether you like it or
the
not.
game. It's just that I didn't do this thing where I cycle the game when I feel like I'm mentally disengaged because of ADHD. So today I'm gonna go back to what I did the day before, which was I called it the chaos stream later because I played one game for half an hour, then I refunded that game, then I played another game, then I got bored after an hour, then I played Mahjong for like 3 rounds, and then I got back to the game that
By the way, now that you know that when you refund a game, it actually dings the game developer, has that changed? Like, I didn't know that before that one stream where both you and I found that out. Has that changed your behavior of like refunding games willy nilly? Because it kind of should.
we played before Mahjong, and then I even switched to something else and switched back to another thing.
Yeah, you managed to play Mahjong for all of 10 minutes before even you admitted that it was basically a bluff and that you had gotten bored of it. Some will.
And that was so fun for me because
Was
I
it?
was consistently entertained and not bored. And
Oh,
something
okay,
happened.
fair.
This transphobe came into the
I know it was pure chaos, right? Like it was wild and it was really entertaining. But it wasn't entertaining because you were hippity hopping between games. It was entertaining because the chat was popping, because I was there. And then because I was there, just, I mean, a bunch of other people in the chat were commenting on the effect I was having on it. Same thing happened in the Discord. And then the transphobe showed up, which was just like the icing on the cake. It's like, oh, here's the pinata full of candy for us all to hit. Oh, it was glorious. But again, that's not your natural inclination. You're not naturally, well, you say you're not naturally inclined towards those kind of um, confrontational, high energy events, and yet your best streams happen when they happen. So figure it out.
stream, and it was like 10 minutes of drama and stuff. That was awesome for me. And that stream, the recording, the VOD of it that I published as a video performed so well.
I
So
bet
that
it
was a
did.
win, 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 win.
You're
And
welcome.
so today I'm gonna go back and try to forget about this shame.
Didn't I tell you? I said yesterday you should pray that that transphobe comes back. You should pray because if he had come back, your stream yesterday would have been amazing. You would have had a blast and it would have killed overnight. But the transphobe wasn't there and I wasn't there and your stream tanked. Correlation causation, it doesn't mean that's because I wasn't there and the transphobe wasn't there. But I would predict that if I had been there and the transphobe was there, your stream would have been better.
And try to do what I want, not what I think I should.
I will say, um, I don't want to be a hypocrite here either. When I stream, I do think about my audience, but not that much. But my goals are not conventional. They're not success oriented. I have affiliate Twitch. I have affiliate status on Twitch, which means that I can have subscribers. I've had many people over the years reach out to me asking me if they can give me money, and I've said no. And that's because I'm a person of principle and I'm serious. My principles aren't guidelines. And I've defined my goals and I've defined the outcomes that I want, and I'm moving towards them. And they don't involve taking people's money because money comes with expectations. Even if they say it's free, it's not. Nothing's free. But anyways, that's my own thing.
And that is very important, I think, to do what fits your specific personality, your way of being.
Well, here's what I would say. I think streaming can be a hobby or it can be a job. If it's a job, like you want your career to be streaming, you want that to be your primary source of income, then the last thing you should do is just do whatever you want. If you're treating it as your primary source of income and as a job, then it's serious and you need to be serious about it. And that means it's probably not going to be that fun. Um, One of the many reasons why I'm not is for me, it's a hobby. I presume it is for you as well, Queen Dopamine. I think you have a 9 to 5 like I do, which is great. So, yeah, for hobby streaming, um, I, I, for hobby streaming with no goals that involve big monetary success, I actually overall I agree with the idea that for that streaming you should, as long as you don't care about success, but it seems that you do. You're looking at your videos the next day and you're disappointed in the number of views. You're judging metrics. It seems to me that you do care. So I guess my unasked for advice would be that there is there's diverging equity here. the more views and success via metrics and whatever else that you want out of your videos, the less you can just do whatever the hell you want all the time. You understand? So if you want more views and more reach and audience and everything else, the conventional results, the success results of streaming, that goal goes in the different direction, the opposite direction from the goal of just doing whatever I want all the frickin' time. I don't know of anyone who is conventionally successful as a streamer who doesn't amend in some way what they want and what they do to the perceived expectations and desires of their audience. Correct me if I'm wrong, point and give me a counterexample. And if you do, it's probably going to be the one person in the world who's got away with it. You know what I mean? It's
Not trying to fit in with anything, but doing what fits you, being what fits you, specifically you.
well, see again, if I was doing what fits me with absolutely no reference to any other human being who could be watching me, I'd just be sitting here stroking my beard and quietly building a perfect future utopian society in my head, completely inaccessible to the streaming audience. Like, no, be wary of absolutes.
The person that you are,
Be wary of absolutes.
the person that I am. We all should do and be exactly what we want to be. We should.
No. Ted Bundy lived a life without much in the way of he lived the life that he wanted to. He was a killer, and he did what he wanted to without consideration of others, and he loved it. I I think that living a life without any reference to other people is incredibly selfish, borderline narcissistic, arrogant, and it will make you thoroughly unlikable to most. You will permanently be in this retreat, this online retreat with few other people around you that can tolerate and stand you, and you'll call them your friends. But I don't think this is good advice. I think it's far too simple. Anyone who thinks in these kind of basic binaries and these absolute binaries, who constructs these narratives, they're thinking. That's good. It's good to think. It's good that you're thinking, but you need to think harder. You need to think with more sophistication. You need to proof your own ideas. For every time that you think and say an absolute statement, like a lot of the ones you've just been saying, the first thing you need to do is you then need to think, how can I just counter what I just said? What's the obvious, like, what is the counterexample? What's the evidence to disprove what I just said? Is there any? I should look for it. I think that would help you a lot. And I think you should really think about your goals. That's something I struggle with too. None of the advice I give, by the way, is issued from a position of superiority. It's all issued from a position of, like, no, I'm down here in the hole with you. I just know where the ladder is. But anyways, it'll be interesting to see how your stream goes today. And yeah, if you do end up watching this, well, thanks for watching. And yeah, I think that the truth usually lies in the middle. We're creatures of extremes. not trying to fit in an absolute way, I think is counterproductive and harmful. Trying to fit in an absolute way, I think is counterproductive and harmful. Um, I think that we're in a time of extremes. Everyone's polarized, and just be wary of people that are speaking in absolutes. Be wary of people who speak in absolutes, who speak in binaries, and boil things down to these really simplistic, everything has one cause. Oh, this outcome happened that I didn't like. Let's figure out why. Oh, look, it was because of one thing. Most outcomes have many causes.
But not let anybody pressure us into being something we know, we feel we're not.
Except that your feelings are often wrong, and often pressure is good for you. There's this thing called tough love. If you're obese, like chronically obese, your doctor's telling you you're going to die, and your family's pressuring you to lose weight, it doesn't matter if you have an internal conception of yourself as a heavy person. No, this is how I am. It doesn't matter. Your family's still trying to help you. What they're doing is still good. This idea that all we need to do is be our authentic selves, and then just every door will open, rainbows, sunshine, the world will suddenly make sense. Ridiculous fairy tale, individualistic fantasy, and it means you've been watching the wrong movies if you think all that. That is not how the world works. You're not the main character. Um, I guess I would end on that. None of us are the main character. And our lives are a constant series of negotiations with the people around us because none of us are an island and we live in a communal world. And if you think that you can live in that world without giving any consideration, without giving any thought to the feelings of others and how they might perceive you, you are going to be miserable, even if you're rich. I'll leave it there.